if we come to the conclusion that a cyber attack, both in terms of a criminal cyber attack and also strategic cyber attacks, are actually being blessed, if not perpetuated, and actually involved in the government of that country.
I think we have to look at all the tools that that we have at our disposal as a national government. But from my perspective, obviously, the tools that we employ are the diplomatic tools, and those tools, I think, are important to make clear to a government that this is a concern.
And what are those tools? I mean, diplomatic tools.
Well, the diplomatic tools are, I think, twofold. One is engaging directly with that government, and saying to them that this conduct is something that we find unacceptable.
Well, I'm sure that will upset them a lot.
Well, but I think you have to look at their overall relationship. With a lot of these countries, we have many different types of relationships: economic relationships, other relationships.
Have we done any of that?
Yes. In fact, if you just recently, the President has made clear in his call with the new President.
What actual sanctions have we put on any country? For example, it's clear that China has been deeply involved in this. Everybody knows it, supposedly. What have we done to say, okay, here's your deadline, and this is exactly what's going to happen?
I've heard Tom Donilon, the National Security Advisor, talk about the great concern that this poses for us, and said three things. One, we want China to understand the scope and seriousness of this problem, of this activity emanating from China. Two, that we want to make sure that they stop, that they actually take some action to investigate and to stop this activity. And three, that we need a sustained dialogue with the Chinese, and we have some dialogue, but we don't have a sustained dialogue.
Well, I'm sure that,
and the President said that.
I'm sure threatening to have a sustained dialogue is going to really deter these fellows, along with the proclamations of great concern. All I know is that I just asked you a specific question about specific actions, and all I got was a list of words that had been spoken. And I'm sure that words coming out of the mouth of officials of the United States is terribly frightening to the Chinese. Mr. Autry, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chairman Rohrabacher, Mr. Keating, and members. I want to particularly thank Mr. Marino for your strong comments with the earlier panelist. The Mandiant Corporation's brilliant report has made obvious to everyone what we've known all along, and that there's a giant sucking sound in our economy, and it's coming from China. The military origin, the billions of dollars in damages, the infrastructure, and the focus on technology make it clear that this is a 21st century act of war. The Internet was developed by the United States government at United States taxpayer expense. It shouldn't be used by tyrants to repress their citizens, and we shouldn't allow those same tyrants to attack our corporations and our infrastructure. And so I ask, why does China get a pass on this scurrilous behavior and every other form of scurrilous behavior that they engage in, from economic abuse to human rights? I believe that if Unit 61398 were a segment of the Iranian Republican Guard located in Tehran, that building would be a smoldering pile of rubble before I got a chance to testify. Yet there seems to be something going on with China. And I think that the problem is, frankly, that a lot of American corporations are co-opted by the Chinese regime. They have such a huge interest in the production capabilities and the ability to exploit Chinese labor in the Chinese environment to lower their cost. And they are chasing the delusional promise of this giant market that they're someday actually going to be given access to, that they don't dare offend their Chinese host. They're like the abused partner in a abusive spousal relationship. They're not going to call the cops on the Chinese, and they're really not going to do it when they know that the cops don't show up and that the cops don't have any guns, which is the situation that we're in now. And I strongly recommend, first of all, that we have a tariff on Chinese technology that accounts for our governmental cost in cybersecurity to defend against the Chinese, and for the damages that we estimate against our corporations until there are no further signs of this sort of activity. We should have a ban on the import of any Chinese networking hardware, and specifically I mean Huawei. We need to stop the revolving door at the State, Treasury, and Commerce departments, where officials from those departments come directly from doing business with China or look forward to doing business with the Chinese as soon as they get out of government service. Finally, we need to stop educating our adversary our computer science departments and engineering departments are full of mainland Chinese students, the majority of whom return to mainland China. Why are we educating the students of a country who are using that technology that we're handing them to oppose our interest? It's not our burden of responsibility to prove exactly what the damages is, but it's our responsibility to stop this hostile and overt action by the Chinese military against the United States of America.